When I was a child, I used to love to draw and craft sacred hearts. Hello, friends. I am here today to share with you a tutorial on how I'm bringing these back into my crafting and how my buttons from Dress It Up Button Shop are helping me. So the first thing you see me doing here is I've got kind of a sketch of the first heart I want to make, and I want to make this out of felt. So I've sketched, but then I like my heart shape enough and size that I want to go ahead and cut it out and use it. Now, if you wanted to print out clip art, if you wanted to use an electronic cutting machine, you have lots of options here. I just want to show you that no sewing machine and no fancy cutting machine required. You can do this all on your own. So first I cut it out of red, then I'm cutting it out of yellow, but I'm leaving a gap about, not quite half an inch, maybe a little more than a quarter inch. And then if I need to trim any bits, I will, but basically I'm just layering here. And my friends, do not worry about if it's perfect. We don't have to worry about that. And the reason we don't have to worry about that is because we're going to be decorating this with buttons and beads. So if there is a spot you don't love, that's a spot that you cover right up. But you can certainly trim it as needed. Then what you're going to be doing is we're going to set this down onto the aqua felt, and these are all wool felt blends. And then I'm going to draw some scallops. So this is just to help me outline where I want my scallops, how I want them. It won't be exact. And remember, this will be the back side, so you won't see my pen work here. I'm just going all the way around, making my scallops and then cutting them on out. And voila, we have our layers. Next up, I'm going to get some metallic felt, and I'm just cutting out like the flames for the top out of this. And again, I've drawn on the back side so that we don't have to worry about seeing that on the front. And I'm going to layer this under the red. Oh, I love how this is looking. I'm so excited. And remember that with these felt projects, we can always trim. There's lots of options. I'm going to be putting this on a gift bag because there is a special cousin that I think will really appreciate this gift. And so what I've done, I stitched across the top just to tack it down. And then what I have here, this is some iron-on material. Basically, you iron it so that the paper side is down and the sticky side is facing my red fabric there. And then once it's cool, we remove the paper. So now it's an adhesive. It's a heatable adhesive. So I've heat set it so that the fabric is fused to the bag. And what that allows me to do is play with my stitching, but not worry about stitching every little piece so that it all stays down. I'm going to repeat this with my hearts, with my pieces. Now, the iron-on adhesive material, it's not super expensive, but it's expensive enough that I do not want to apply it to whole sheets of felt. I want to cut out before, and I also don't need it to be exact. You see how that is? So you just iron set it with the paper side up, and then once it cools, you can peel it off and start layering, which we will do here in just a moment as they cool. You can see, you peel it off, you can see the shiny adhesive there, get them all set. Then I'm going to start from the bottom and layer these. And again, I didn't worry about going all the way to the edges because I will be doing some stitching. I just wanted enough on there so that I didn't have to worry about things holding still. Now, you will notice the black line on my yellow heart there. That was a whoopsie. I put the iron on the wrong side, but we're not going to worry about it, and this is why. I'm doing a blanket stitch here all around the red heart. This is embroidery floss, and basically you just kind of, well, you'll see, you just kind of pull down and then you make a loop around, and it takes a moment. But as soon as you've got it, it's really easy. You're just pulling a loop around, but don't close it all the way because then you pull your needle through, then you secure it firmly but not too tight. And the thing about this is it's going to cover up any of that black marker that shows. And I knew that I'd also be adding all kinds of buttons and beads and things. So I did not worry about the fact that I had put the adhesive on the wrong side. Total bonehead move. But hey, this is crafting and it's not always perfect when we're hand making things. Sometimes we make mistakes. And sometimes, like in this example, I saw no reason to waste perfectly good material. I'm just going forward with my process. So I'm doing this first and I'm wanting to get any stitches down that I want below everything. So for example, the blanket stitch. Now's where the real fun begins. I have got an assortment of Dress It Up buttons as well as Jesse James beads, and I am going to use these together to put all kinds of great things down here. Now this little sugar skull gal is actually from the Zombies little collection of buttons. So I thought she would be great on here. She's just so much fun. So I'm going to start with that. Now this is a shank button. So what I am going to do, the shank buttons on here, I'm going to do the same thing for all of them. So I'm going to put my needle through. Now you can go all the way through or not. And just another side note, I adhered everything first and then am adding stitching. You could do this the opposite. So you could stitch things to the red layer, then adhere it to the yellow layer, then adhere it to the teal layer, then adhere it. So you could work that way. I put everything all together because I wanted to visualize this all together and decorated. And these buttons and beads certainly are going to do a great job. So I am just pulling my needle and thread through there twice, and that's just the same thread that I used for my blanket stitch around the red heart, which I just love how that makes it stand out. I'm just tying a knot nice and tight. I go around twice just to make sure that it's really nice and secured. Then I tie my knot and cut off the excess. And then I'm just going to repeat, going around twice, tying the knot nice and tight through any other additional buttons. And in the description, I'm naming every product used here. So any additional buttons that we have from Dress It Up Button Shop, I'm just going to go ahead and adhere those, add those, and then I start to get into beads. You'll notice some red and aqua beads. That is a Chinese takeout mix from Jesse James Beads. I can add seed beads. I can add little charms. There's little metal bits and pieces in the beads that are really fun to use. Basically, I'm just building a collage and going with whatever looks good, whatever feels good. And I'm also going to put a little gold seed bead from that little set that you see right there on the left on each little scallop. So I'm just going through, putting a seed bead there, and then just, I am pushing it through the entire bag. So this is going through into the actual gift bag itself. And then I'm just pulling my needle through and repeating the process. Remember, when we're working with buttons and beads and sewing, it doesn't take any special tools, just embroidery thread and needle that you can pick up at literally any craft store. And you can have a lot of fun with what you add and how you add it. You can add a lot, you can add a little. There's no wrong answer here. It's all about having creative fun and building a project that you love. I cannot wait to do more of these. I'm going to frame some of them as shadow box art. So many options here that we can do. I'd love to hear from you. How are you crafting with felt, buttons, and beads?